Hello friends, if you are watching this video, then I would say that you are probably friends with David and Marcia. I wanted to make a little pre-video announcement. This is the celebration of life that we had for David, along with a bunch of pictures that were displayed at the celebration of life. There's a lot of stories from people who love them, and every week when I see Marcia, she is fretting over the fact that she has not sent out thank you cards to each and every one of you for your thoughtfulness. And so what I want to do is just say, consider this video an audio thank you for loving Marcia and David, for participating in the celebration of life, for the food and the flowers and the meals that you've shared, and the phone calls and the text and the letters, all of the cards that she's gotten in the mail. She feels very loved. And Marcia, no one is expecting a thank you card from you. They love you. We love you. I love you. And everyone who watches this, Marcia loves you.
Welcome to Encore. Okay, clap for me again. She wants an encore. Love it, love it. So thank you guys all for coming here today to celebrate David's life with us, with Marcia. He was such a bright light in my life over this past year. I've just been so honored to spend time with him. And in contacting all of you about this, what I found out is that there's a lot of stories in this room. There are funny stories, there are heartwarming stories, and I thought if I brought this, then maybe we could come up here and share some stories, make ourselves laugh. If we cry, we got tissues in the middle of the tables. But we would love to just share some of the stories of maybe how you know David, ways that your life has been impacted by David and Marcia. I am recording this, and she's going to get a CD of it so she can go back and watch the stories again and enjoy it more fully in the moment. So I guess I'll start. I have been a caregiver for Dee for the last year and a half, and she's just one of my very best friends and just loves. And she started telling Marcia, you need Donna to come over to your house. You need Donna to come over to your house. And then I came over, and I've been coming for the last year. And David, when I first met him, the first thing he did was, he's like, Donna who? And he walked like this, like he was drunk, and then he ran into the wall like that and pretended that he didn't see the wall coming. And he did that every time I came. And I found it hilarious, and Marcia rolled her eyes. He just always had something funny to say. I'd walk in the door and he'd say, he's sitting in his recliner. Every morning when I come in, he's sitting in his recliner and wide awake, and he'd look over, he'd see me, and then he'd go, is Donna here yet? And I'd say, she'll be here soon. Not yet, she'll be here soon. And then he'd say, is it still snowing out there? Is it still snowing out there? And every week, he would tip me a $2 bill. And I loved that, because now I have a little pile of $2 bills that I take so much delight when I come across kids who help with something, help with yard, the kids who help Dee move into her assisted living. We paid them, and then we tipped them one of Dave's $2 bills, and none of them thought it was real. They thought I was giving them like fake money. So those are just a couple of the memories that I have that I wanted to share. Is there someone else who would like to come up and share a little story about something with Dave and Marcia?
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I had to prepare because my memory's not what it used to be.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm so sorry. My name is Walter Mayman, and I'm here with Margaret, and I'm going to tell you.
All right. I'm going to get out of the way.
Okay.
Don't turn that down. Turn it back up.
Good afternoon, everyone.
No.
My name is Walter Mayman. Margaret and I came to honor our friend and traveler, David. I have known David my entire life. We were born the same year. We lived on the same street. We spent hours in each other's homes as children. David, Steve, his brother, and his mother and father always welcomed me with smiles and open arms. They were a tremendously gracious family. We both attended Cornell Heights Elementary School, now gone. We both attended Colonel White High School, now gone. We had to walk to school. Unless the weather was so bad, we would sometimes get rides from different parents in our neighborhood. When he became 16 years old, David, always a hard worker, had the ability to purchase a used green Mini Cooper. You all remember what the Mini Coopers look like? This was the real Mini Cooper. He loved that car. I was lucky. He offered me rides to school. We began our early travels together. It was great. I learned that Dave was one of the few people in my life that I could depend on. Sometimes, if we had enough money for gas, it was 30 cents a gallon. Okay. We could take a day trip and explore the local area. Dave gave me his most valuable He gave me his, let me collect myself for a second. His most valuable possessions, his friendship and his time. After Colonel White, we went our separate ways, but we always stayed in contact. Whenever I was in town, I would get together. Sometimes we'd schedule a trip. Dave was awesome. Along his journey, he acquired a most beautiful property on Sullivan Road. With the help of his friend, Greg Miller, they turned that space into a destination, a refuge, a shelter, a place near parks and farms, a paradise for birders and nature. Have you seen the giant corner kitchen window for birding that Greg built? Dave had a vision and he pursued it. Along the way, there were trips to see James Schreiber in Connecticut, our neighbor growing up, now a well-known, nationally known custom furniture maker. A trip to St. Thomas to see Larry Tanis, a retired jewelry maker, and Greg Miller in Colorado, the home builder with his amazing respect and connection for and connection to nature. They were all travelers with Dave. Another life-impacting trip with Dave happened in 1979 in another green car, this time his special Toyota Land Cruiser. Did any of you guys ever know Dave when he had his Land Cruiser?
I heard of
Okay, it was amazing. With a canoe, a tent, and outdoor gear, he came to rescue me when I was living in Omaha, Nebraska. We traveled together to the majestic Glacier National Park in Montana, camping and fishing on Bowman Lake. Another great memory. What a guy. What a human. I returned to Dayton in 1985 to pursue my career. Dave was there, welcoming me with his big smile, his open arms. There were cookouts, bike rides, pizza, and other life events. Greg had helped Dave upgrade the Sullivan Road space. It was great, full of energy and good vibes. But Dave was missing something. Then one day, while riding on the bike path, it happened. Marcia entered his life. She elevated Dave even more. Another journey, their journey, together began. Dave, the traveler, allowed me to travel with him. Again, he shared his most valuable possessions, his friendship and his time. His spirit of kindness and goodness will live on. We love you, we miss you, and I know your journey will continue.
Hi, I'm Greg Miller, and I was David's roommate from 1985 to 1993, and he's just one of the nicest people I've ever met. We never had an argument. He just was always goofing around and just a wonderful person, and always making people laugh with his subtle humor. He loved dogs, flowers, nature, Charleston Falls. In fact, I stopped there on the way here just to honor him. And I feel he was so blessed to meet Marcia and have that time with her. And I always carry him in my heart.
I'm starting to get teary-eyed. I knew Marcia long before David did. We came up here from San Antonio and lived in Kettering at first, and then just had various jobs because we had come with 3 other girls from Kansas, and we're looking for jobs and had the same story. Why did you come here? You know, and that's another story. I don't think this is working.
No, it is. It's okay.
Oh, okay. So,
Hold on, let me figure this out. That way we can. Because it sounds fine when I do it. So you need to have your sound come straight into the microphone. So like, don't be afraid of eating the microphone.
so anyway, let's see, when I first met David. Well, I met David. Marcia was working for a company that took her to Michigan, and she was living in Michigan for a while. And the first time I remember David was we would go to Flavor's Eatery in Inglewood, and once in a while they would close it down and shove all the tables aside, and we'd have somebody come and sing, play music and dance or whatever we wanted to do. And I met David. Marcia invited David to come there one time, and I remember that, but I didn't really know him that well, except that he was good friends with Elizabeth Cockrell and some other people, and we would kind of get together. But when they moved to Michigan, Marcia finally came back to Dayton and called me and said, let's get together for lunch or something. So we went to, can't do this. We went to a Mexican restaurant in Centerville, and when we got there, David and Marcia came in, and it was just really good to see them after a long time. And then they announced that they had gotten married. And I said, what? You did what without me? And so it was then that I said, okay, well, I forgive him for that. And I remember David saying to me one time, he said, you're my sister. And he always treated me like that. He thought of me like that. And so I didn't get to see David as much as I wanted to, but I saw plenty of times. We had lots of parties at Marcia and David's house. And he was always funny, like you all said. And he would always say, it ain't easy being me. And I've said that so many times, thinking of David. And we talked about flossing our teeth, and every time I floss my teeth or use my electric toothbrush, I think about him because he's getting back and back behind those teeth. And I always think about David. And so we did a lot of things together, Marcia and David and I, and just other people. So I just want to say that I don't know why I'm going to show up. The last day of David's life, when he was at Miami Valley Hospital, that was the most precious time for me, because there were just a lot of friends that were Christians, and David was struggling to breathe, and he was, on morphine, and so he was not really aware. The last thing he had done was squeeze Marcia's hand, I think. And we just had such a wonderful time, and he'd go up and whisper in his ear and say things to him, and just, tell him about how much we loved him and how much God loved him. And I can remember Jim just reading scriptures to him too. That was really neat. And that was just a precious time that day in the hospital. And then that was it. And then when we went to the burial site, that was a really special time. And I had shown David and Marcia Calvary Cemetery maybe a month or so before, and they had decided that they wanted to do that too, to have a Greek burial, which meant that we wouldn't be involved or anything, just wrapped in a shroud and then put in the ground and buried in a meadow. And so when I went to the burial, it was really precious because we stood around and shared scriptures, and it was a beautiful thing. And then they laid David in the ground and covered it with dirt. And I said, well, I got to see what mine is going to look like, because mine's going to be exactly like that. So I just got to say that I'm really touched by all the people who knew David, because I know Walt Lane, and he was always talking about Walt. And so I just want to share that I believe David is with the Lord, and I'm thankful. So that's it.
I don't have any idea what to say, but I just...
Tell us who you are.
My name's Beth Ann Feinberg, and I met Marcia when I was
There you go.
Beth Ann Thompson. I lived with Marcia for 17 years. Scary. I was living with her when she met David. I met David at the same time on the bike path. I remember riding my bike. What year was that? 2001. I remember riding my bike past him and saying hi. And he said, hi, I'm Carl. I think there's a story to that. But after that, one of the bike rides, Marcia and David and I went to Red Lobster in North Dayton. I think it was Miller Lane. And I was totally invisible. David was smitten, I could tell at that point. Or as they say in Chariots of Fire, he was decapitated. So then Marcia was very instrumental in helping farmers find places where they could sell their wares. And I remember at that time, with her long hair and her big huge hat, at the farmer's market with David. And so that's how it began. And yeah, I remember when she came back eloped. She eloped on May 25th, 2002, the same day that Dusty, this handsome man, gave me my ring. So we were such close friends, and I guess the Lord knew that was going to happen. But I don't think we processed his absence yet. I know that whenever we went there, I was really thankful. Dusty said, we need to go visit. We went often in the last days because we never knew. I would put my hands on his shoulders from the back, and he would just make a big sigh of relief. He appreciated that. We would gather around him and pray. We went on many trips, and lots of memories. Someone came in here with a shirt like his, and from a distance I thought, oh, David's finally here. No, he's not. So, I think you can hear me now, David, but we miss you. I'm very, like Dee, so blessed to hear stories. Oh, we didn't know any of you, and I really hope we can meet you and share more stories and hear more from more of you, because it's been a real blessing. Thank you.
So hi, I'm Dusty, and I wrote on my name tag today that I'm just David's friend, Dusty, right? Dusty Piper. And can you guys hear me? Okay. You got to put it all the way up like that. Is that better? Yes. Okay. Okay. So I'm Dusty. I'm married to Beth Ann, and I'm David's friend. And as Beth Ann mentioned, we were engaged. We were at Coldwater Cafe in Tip City on May 25th, 2002, and we didn't know at the time that was the date that David and Marcia had gotten married. And of course, we were engaged on the same day. So Beth Ann and I have been married for almost 22 years. So I've known David ever since then. So I started to know David through Beth Ann and Marcia. So I got to know him for almost 22 years. He would always, he was such an easy guy to get along with. You know, he was never a person that really made you feel intimidated. He was always relaxed and funny and just easy to be around. And he used to call me, hey, Dusty's my little brother that I always wanted. So he always made me feel like a little brother. So I have my picture board of just me and Dave doing stupid things that brothers would do back here. But a couple of some of my favorite memories of Dave were just, like I said, just the everyday stuff of hanging around for a long time. And one of them was about, you heard Donna talk about the $2 bills that David would collect. And that was one of the quirky things that David did, but he would give the $2 bills as tips to people, and the young people didn't think they were real, right? They didn't know what to do with the $2 bills. So I have my own collection of $2 bills from Dave. But the way that started was he would, in his SUV, he would drive along the road and he would just stop and he would start collecting aluminum cans along the side of the road, and he would just put them in the back of his car, or he'd have a plastic trash bag in the back of his car and he would just fill it up. When I started playing golf about 3 years ago, and there's the golf course in Vandalia, just 5 minutes from their house on Sullivan Road. I can't think of the name of it right now, but Castle Hills. We would go to Castle Hills, and what David would do was I would go sign up for whatever 9 holes or 18 holes, whatever golf I was playing that day. And he would pull the SUV up and pull it up beside the dumpster, and he would go dumpster diving in their dumpster because they would throw away all their aluminum cans, and he wanted to recycle them. So that's how he started collecting more and more aluminum cans. We'd fill up like 2 bags full of aluminum cans and throw them in the back of his SUV, right? And then he would take them, and it was so silly. He might have $5 worth of aluminum cans, the back of his SUV. It would cost him a couple bucks in gas, but he would drive downtown. He would drive downtown to Dayton to the recycling center and cash in like $5 or $6 worth of aluminum cans, and the guy would pay him in $2 bills at the Dayton Recycling Center. And that's where he started collecting all the $2 bills. That's how he did it, right? Well, when I started playing golf, for those of you, if you don't play golf balls are like $3 or $4 a piece nowadays. And I was hitting the ball all over the place. I could not control my golf ball, and I was constantly losing golf balls, and David kind of felt sorry for me. So one day when he went dumpster diving for aluminum cans, he noticed that the golf course was throwing away golf balls in the dumpster, that they would vacuum them up or suck them up from the golf course, and they would just dump a whole bunch of golf balls in the dumpster. So he started not only collecting aluminum cans, but then he started collecting golf balls, and he would take them home, and he would take them home and he would hose them off with water and clean them off for me. And then the next time on the weekend, whenever I would come over to his house, he'd give me like a dozen golf balls or 2 dozen golf balls because he didn't want me to pay for them anymore. So, so we used to go dumpster diving for golf balls, which was just one of those silly things that when he passed away, and I had these memories of, we're down there rooting in the dumpster looking for golf balls. I just started cracking up. It's just one of those things that we did together that was just stupid, but it was just fun. It was just a lot of fun. We did things like that. I know Dallas and Dan and Mike, there's guys from the men's group here, and I used to meet David on a Saturday morning on Sullivan Road, and I'd ride with him to the men's group, and we would always stop at McDonald's for the 2-for-2 deal at McDonald's for, even though the men's group had good coffee and breakfast sandwiches, we always had to stop at McDonald's to get an Egg McMuffin or a breakfast burrito, because he always wanted a breakfast burrito. And we knew better to eat McDonald's food, but we did it anyway, because that's just what we wanted to do. We did, and Donna could tell you stories too. Like he had his favorite fast food places, and I could rattle them off. I mean, there was Taco Bell, there was Arby's, there was McDonald's. I don't know that Marcia knew all the different places that we went, but we did. And he had his Panera Bread. Panera Bread was another one. I can remember so many trips to all these fast food restaurants when David, he just wanted to get out of the house and go do something fun, and to him that was fun. So that's what we would do. We did discover Hickory River barbecue in Tip City, so I think we have barbecue here from Hickory River tonight, I think. So we started going to Hickory River for a while too. But we took a lot of trips to Traverse City, Michigan. So you can see on my little board here this picture of us with Lake Michigan in the background. We had a lot of good times in Traverse City going on wine tastings, because northern Michigan is wine growing, wine tasting country up in northern Michigan. It's a beautiful place. And I didn't get to go on some of the trips to Greece or Italy or Europe, but I know there's pictures of that over there. So I think in his later years, David really enjoyed, being able to travel and to see those different places. So for me, it was like, it was like losing a brother. I lost my brother. And I missed him. I missed him so. I'm so glad that you guys are here. And I missed my brother. Thank you.
My name's Cinda, and I'm Dave's cousin. And
Dave was a real special cousin because I probably had 15 cousins growing up, but I didn't really know them very well. I only saw them on holidays, you know, and you spend a couple hours with them. But Dave turned out to be the cousin that was like my surprise cousin. When we got to be adults, we found out how much alike we were as kids. You know, I didn't know that, but I work at Charleston Falls, and I know that that was one of his favorite spots. And one of the things I always remember is Dave would ride his bike to Charleston Falls and come in the office and go, "Hey, cuz, how you doing?" And everybody I worked with are going, what a great guy. But he made that special effort to keep connected. And as adults, we found out how much alike we were. We loved the outdoors. We loved animals. We, you know, loved to bicycle and canoe. He just always had a special place in my heart because out of all my cousins, Dave was the one that, you know, I grew closer to, even though I didn't see him very often. But it was just nice to know here's a cousin that shares a lot of the things we like to do and just so upbeat and so funny and so friendly and just full of he was happy all the time and funny. And when I met Marcia, and Marcia's so delightful, and it's like, wow, I was so happy for him and for her. But he was a real special cousin, and I feel very grateful that we finally got to know each other when we got to be adults. And he would come into Charleston Falls and he'd go, "I'm so proud of you for working here, and this is so great," because he loved the outdoors, he loved nature, and it was just nice to feel that kind of support from your relative, from your cousin. But I love Dave, and he was real special.
Well, my name is Jim, and this is Mary Ann. But today, we're Jamie and Mary Lou. How many people had a nickname or something he would just call you? I bet it's not just us, but every time, Jamie, good to see you. So I'm James or Jim, but to him I was Jamie. And so really precious and special and upbeat. That's a great word for Dave, really so much. A couple thoughts I would just like to share, and I've got my wonderful support here and my wife, Mary Ann. 3 memories that I'll share just kind of real briefly. The first is just a sweet time, kind of in the life of, as married couples, but we had a neat opportunity to just meet with Dave and Marcia and just have an afternoon kind of time being together. We did a little Bible study. Of course, we ate food. And that was just precious, having the time with them, talking about our love for God and Jesus in our lives and praying together. Just really powerful stuff. And so many times as we would have something to eat, Dave would use one of his favorite sayings, and I bet more than one of us know it here. It tastes like more. In other words, he wants more. Dave liked what was going on, and he would definitely have more if that was on the bill. So it tastes like more, but it was really just a sweet setting. So Marcia, that was so sweet with you and Dave, and that meant a lot to Mary Ann and I. The second is a trip that we took. Really, Ravindra and Lois, other friends, were just the catalyst on this, but a neat trip down to the Cove in Tennessee. And that was really a precious time, just with many friends, and there were so many elements to it that I wouldn't go on and on, but one of the neat things for me is as we were getting ready to leave, it was kind of like pairing up and, leaving the Cove and heading back to the Dayton area and all that stuff. But I had the great pleasure of getting Dave sat by me when I drove one of the cars back. And just sitting there and just spending the time with him, and he would just talk, and we were talking about things. I learned a very important life lesson that I'll share with you. If you ever see some of those, you're driving down the interstate, Dave did some driving in his life, so this was like wisdom advice from him. If you see little strips of like tire that are like laying on the road, they may not look like, sometimes you see big chunks of tire, but his advice was never run over those because there's radial tread inside there and it acts just like nails. If your tires aren't good, it'll shred your tires. And so he said, don't run over those. And I was like, got it, Dave, I won't do that for sure. And in fact, to this day, when I see one of those on the road, guess what I think of? My friend. And so that was really precious. And one of the precious parts of that to me too was
is that Dave had just a really active spirit. Sometimes maybe a little high-strung even in a sense. He was just always looking and doing and saying. He fell asleep and probably slept in the front seat right there with me for about 3 hours or so. And that was really a treasure to me, just to see him relaxed and just enjoying the drive. He'd wake up now and then and just kind of look around. And that was just really sweet time, kind of just sitting there with him, taking the drive back to Dayton. Very precious. And then probably the most precious memory is one where Dave and Marcia were in matchmaker mode. And so that's where Marianne and I met, was at their place. They invited us over to come over and have dinner, meet each other. I remember walking into the kitchen, Dave greeted me at the door, and I walked into the kitchen and there was Marcia and this sweet lady there who had just made a peach pie for part of the festivities, and it was such a lovely night with them. Such a gracious couple to be with. They were just charming and sweet. It was kind of fun because here I am meeting Marianne for the first time, and we're kind of like, being silly, and we're trying to play a game, and they're like being serious, and they're wanting to play this game, and we're like, ah. So anyway, it was just a sweet memory. It was just a neat time, and they were the catalyst. Really, that setting was really what set the stage for Mary and I to really get to know each other and to really be blessed by God's love, by His Spirit through each of us towards each other. And really, now I'm blessed for my life because of what my friend David and his sweet wife Marcia did for us by having us come together. So I thank the Lord. I thank God for David in my life, Marcia as well, and for the treasure that I have as a result with this sweet lady. There's so many good memories of friendship and time. And praise the Lord, and thank you, Lord, for my friend David.
I just wanted to add one thing. David's favorite store was Menards. David's favorite store was Menards, and he was always going to Menards, or wanted to. And he would pick up flashlights, and he was always giving me flashlights, little flashlights. And I think he probably gave them to other people too. And I really appreciated that. So that was another one I just thought of.
And what's this Menard song?
I don't remember the Menard song. Do you?
Yes.
Oh,
Save money at Menards.
You did sing that
Yeah, I
on.
did sing that.
Dave's saving a lot of money at Menards.
My name is Heidi Miller, and this is my husband, Kent Miller, and we live just down the street here, and on 40. And actually, he knows our new, I'm sorry, over here? I'm sorry? Oh, they have this, oh. So I'm not prepared for this. So anyways, Kent actually knew David and Marcia before me, and okay, before I want to say, I will go over one thing that Kent came home from the bank from Huntington, and he said, "There's just this great couple. Oh, they're so friendly and so nice, and they just live around the corner here." And he was describing the house, and just driving by it gives you this sense of peace, and you see this beauty, and it just, you look at it, or I looked at it, and I said, yeah, I could see that. I could see that there would be such a beautiful couple there. And one thing there are two things I'm going to share. One, watching David go down the road, you probably know this, the dogs would follow him, the cats would follow him. And it was such a beautiful thing to see them, that they trusted their master. And they're just like, just walking down the road. And the cat, what cat goes down and follows dogs? I mean, so the one thing I do want to say is that it took us too long to get to know them. I don't have as many, or really a lot of stories like you have. So if there's someone in your life that God keeps sharing stories with you and telling you, and there's moments of like, you know, you should call them, go visit them, you're driving by, take those moments to stop. Because you just don't know when God's going to call them home. And I feel like we could have had more memories. We could have shared more moments with this beautiful couple. And I'm kind of envious of your stories. I'm trying not to be. But I would love to hear more of them. So if there are some of you that are kind of embarrassed and not quite sure if you want to come up and talk, could you please? Because I would love to hear more about this man, David, and his brother. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those stories.
Just want to say that, along with what she said, I met David and Marcia about probably a little over 10 years ago, and it was interesting. I would say after that, it seemed like I do a lot of biking and walking on the trails out here, so I would go down the road quite a bit. And after I met them, I would always honk, or I would make an effort to see if they were outside. And uncannily, I mean, David, I've heard a lot about David loving nature and going to Glacier and things like that. And it seemed like on a very high percentage of the time, David would be out front next to the road, and I would stop and talk to him and chat with him over the years. So it kind of supports what my wife was saying, and that although we talked a lot, I didn't get a chance to meet them enough. I wish I would have gotten a chance to spend more time with them. But I'm really excited and happy to know that where he is, and we were happy to know that, of course, that he's a Christian brother of ours, because we love to support the church and we love Jesus Christ, and we know David did too, and we're thankful for David and Marcia's wonderful friendship throughout the years, and spending some recent time with them. Just having a little bit of tea, and David was telling me about some of his adventures at, how do you pronounce it, Colonel White? And at the Daily News, and telling me a little bit of history. Seemed like he liked history, he liked the history of Dayton, and he was telling me about how right down the road here, Route 40 used to go through, the old Route 40, prior to them moving it, and kind of ties in with one of the stories I heard earlier. It sounds like maybe with his hiking adventures, that some of his trips weren't in the truck all the time. Maybe he was traveling down through the nature park there. There's a little road that goes up where you have to actually cross the river. There's no bridges there anymore. So he would have had to ford the river, go up the hill towards the golf course, go over the railroad tracks, and it's a pretty good trek, all the way to almost Route 40. To get those cans and hike back. So, but love that time with him and Marcia, and love the stories that he shared, and just thankful for knowing them both. And God bless you both. God bless David.
Can you hear me? My name is Trina Patton, and I met David and Marcia when they started coming to our church, same church as Jamie and Mary Lou, or Jim and Mary Ann. So we live just around the corner up here, and I just remember David in his yellow truck, like driving by and beeping the horn so that we can wave to him. Or Marcia texting me and saying, David's coming and he's going to bring you some chicken feed, and do you have any eggs? And then he'd pay me in $2 bills. So, I guess one of my favorite memories of him is just his favorite outfits. His flowered shirts, and his shorts, and his sandals. And he'd wear it all the time, summer, winter, to church, in the winter. And I just look at him. Our personalities are a little different, so I'd have to remember when he'd say something to me that he was probably joking. But he'd also joke with the kids. And so when I talked to my family, who would all have loved to be here, like, what stories do you remember? And my 12-year-old daughter said that she always remembered, and this was years ago, so she must have been 8 at the time and still remembers, that she'd be running around the church and he'd say to her, "I like your shoes," and she'd be barefoot.
Hi, I'm hoping you can hear me.
Yeah.
Maybe? Okay, I'm Lois Kitchener, and that's my husband, Ravindra Kitchener. Well, where to begin? I really enjoyed their stories. I'm going to start crying. It's the little things, isn't it? It's the little things. That's what David was really good at. The little things. We don't go back quite as far as Walt and Margaret and some of the others whom I haven't yet met. The unique thing about this group is everybody knows Dave. And nobody really knows everybody here, except for Marcia and Dave. And that's the unique thing about them. The couple relationship that they brought, we shared, we began the time of our lives on a very circuitous route. I believe as a doctor or a neurologist of a friend, T. Marcia ends up in his office, and fast forward 18 years later, and we run into Marcia at Coldwater Cafe, and she says, "Would this be the Dr. Kitchener?" He wasn't here at the time. I was under the reservation of Kitchener. I said, "No, I don't think I'm the right person, you know." But I said, "There is someone coming." And she said, oh, can you tell me when he gets here?" And from then on, the story began. But we've traveled. We've done a lot of life together. We've had highs, we've had lows, and we've had a lot of in between. But always Dave, Marcia, Dave. Everywhere they went, they did things for us. They shared with us. They cared for us. We've all been in the little paradise that they made in their backyard, the home that they made. It was so cozy and comfortable. I remember being fascinated the very first time I met them, fascinated with their little home, and thinking, wow, this is really, really comfortable, really, really loving. And that's how I grew to know both of them, was through the love that they have, the love that they share with others. And I'm confident they share with each of you all. I'm missing him a lot. And I looked at the pictures, all pictures. Yes, I take pictures of everything that moves. But there are a lot of pictures here of travels, a lot of journeys, a lot of experiences, a lot of life, and a lot of laughter. Always laughter. Again, the little things. I remember going on a trip to Italy, thinking I looked, okay. I had slacks on. It looked fine to me. I didn't think twice about it. But when I walked up into the airport to change clothes, Dave says, "Oh, high water pants, huh?" I was mortified. But at the same time, there's the little things in life that he noticed. The little things that made us all laugh and joke about it.
Yeah. I think that it's pretty amazing how Dave and Marcia and Dee, we all got to know each other in the last 20 years, and I don't think it was an accident, it was by divine providence. And it was quite amazing. And I would say that Dave is probably a brother I never had. And we butted heads all the time. And it was always about driving because, he had a CDL license. And I didn't. And I drove on the wrong side of the road. But I learned a lot from Dave, and it was amazing. The Bible says a righteous man has one face, not two faces. It tells you something, and behind, no.
Dave was a very righteous man, and he would tell you exactly what he thought. And I learned a lot from him. Turn the air conditioning off before you start your truck. And I think about that, I hear him say that every time I get in my truck, is air conditioning off. Because I heard it so many times from Dave, and I think he did it with good intentions. And we have had some wonderful time traveling so many different states and so many different countries. And we enjoyed it so much. And I think that when I look at myself, I say that Dave and Marsha have really enriched our lives over the last amazing year. And we are grateful for that. And we'll always remember that, and we'll always have Dave in our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your love, Marsha.
Good afternoon. I am one of many members of a softball team that Dave played on. I've known Dave since I was 15 years old. I've known Dave since I was 15. And he grew up with a whole gang of us that played softball together for 10 or 12 years, and we were all Colonel White members as well, and there's a few of us here tonight. But there wasn't a greater guy than Dave. He was, like I've heard tonight, he'd tell you it like it is, and he was funny, and he was always gracious, and we're going to miss him.
Hi, my name is Dallas Zeiser, and there's a number of guys here that attend a group, Saturday morning group. We meet once a month, and two of them over here. And there's Dan, Mike, several others, Kitch, Dusty for a while. I want to talk about the big thing about Dave, and that is his relationship with Christ Jesus. This group of men get together
Put the mic closer.
to talk about Christ and what he means to each of us, but also to remind ourselves, remind each one of us that that's the big thing in our lives, is our relationship with Christ. And sometimes I get a little too serious. Dave would speak up, make some fun, make a funny line, get us all to laugh. And then later on, I found that's a good thing, because I found that if I get people to laugh, we have a great discussion because everybody starts to chime in. So laughter is good. Laughter is good to start conversation and continue conversation. And with Dave's help, I was able to do that. Because I know some months, the material I bring, I hear some snoring going on sometimes. But no, just joking. We do have fun. I think we have fun together. And I think we build each other up because that's important, especially this day and age, to build ourselves up, to remain strong in Christ. And that's the purpose of the group, is to remain strong against the evil influences in this world. And thanks to Dave, he brought the humor side of it and always had us laughing. And I think that's one thing I'll not forget about Dave. And so I had to get up and say something because Dave was a real hoot. It could get us to laugh. And laughter, like I said, is important. But praise God, he knew Jesus Christ. And that's the number one thing in life. Know Jesus Christ.
been good. And I'm sure that there are more people who want to share. So what I was thinking is maybe everybody can make a plate and sit down, and then we can come back and have another little bit of sharing time in a little bit. I did have one thing that I wanted to share with you, Marcia. Last night I set my alarm to get up and spend my time at 2:15 with the Lord. And at 2:15 the alarm went off, and I was like, nope, God, thank you that you are gracious and that I'm not going to get up right now because I'm tired, because I went to bed at about midnight. And at 2:40 I woke up, and I have just a few words scrolling through my mind about how God cares for the widows and the orphans, and how he is a father to the fatherless, and he is a husband to the widow. So I got up because I was like, I need to sleep, I need to sleep, I need to sleep. Where in the Bible is that? So I went and Googled it, and it doesn't exist. There's nowhere in the Bible that it says that he is a husband to the widows. So it set me off in like 2 hours of a Bible study about widows. And there are 59 verses. It starts in Genesis and it ends in Revelation. The Lord talks about widows throughout. He cares so greatly for you. And then he started talking, and I wrote it, and I wanted to read it to you. Marcia, my precious baby girl, how I adore you. My heart, sweet girl, is for you. I see you, I know you, and I love you deeply. I know that your heart is aching and longing for the love that you once held so dear. At times, the quiet moments home alone feel almost like an echo chamber. You could hear a pin drop loudly in the silence that once was so full of life and laughter. You are not alone and never will be. On the darkest night, I will be there. I will be the light in the darkness. On the coldest night, I will be the fire in your soul. With your permission, I am prepared and longing to fill the void in both your home and your heart. Invite me. In the coming days, do not let your heart be troubled, and do not be afraid. I am with you. I will go before you. I will protect you, defend you, and comfort you. David loved you to the best of his ability, with all his soul, his mind, will, and emotions. As deeply and as truly as he loved you, his love was but a quiet echo of the love that I have for you. The security that you felt just knowing he was there, even when he was not physically strong enough to defend you, was a mirage. It has always been my hand that has protected you, and it always will be. Do not fear those who would seek to harm you or take advantage of you in your vulnerability. They will come, but their plans will not succeed. My right hand is always at your side. Keep the full armor I have given you firmly in place, and do not lay down your sword or shield to carry a burden. Leave your burdens with me and walk in faith. Although your earthly parents are no longer with you, in my kingdom, you are not an orphan. And although your husband has come to live with me, in my kingdom, you are not a widow. You have a beautiful family represented here today, and they are charged by me to be your father and mother, your brothers and sisters, your husband and your friend. And for them, you are to be the same. Keep your chin up, little one. It's going to be okay. Love, Debbie. So with that, I'd like to pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this time. Lord, I thank you for the special friendships that are here, that are represented, for the love that's represented here. Lord, I thank you that wherever we go, brothers and sisters in Christ are everywhere, and you've made us a family. Lord, I pray that in the coming days and years and
that this family would continue to support Marcia in just the beautiful way that they always have. I thank you for your grace and your mercy in our lives. Lord, we ask that you would bless this food to our bodies, continue to bless this fellowship. And Lord, may we ever feel you and experience what you have for us in this life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Second David story. Well, I was at, I thought it was, I think it's Myers. I was shopping in the toy department, and then I bump into Dave. I go, well, what you doing? He says, well, I'm looking for, it was, I think, for a nephew, a gift. And he was holding something. I'm going, oh, is that what you picked? And he goes, yeah, I'm thinking that's what I'm going to get. And I go, well, I think you ought to run that by Marcia first. He goes, well, why? You know, so, well, I don't know. It's one of those kind of things that I'm just not sure about. It was the 8-ball that you turn and you get the little messages. And so she must have been in the store because he went off and he came back and says, you were right. She doesn't want it. And so, you know, so we put it back on the shelf and they went looking for something else. So anyway, I thought that was really funny. That's funny. So anyway, yeah, we're going to miss Dave. Yeah. So love Marcia. Yeah.
Okay, I met Marcia first, went over, and when I met David, I found out everybody was interested in biking. I said, I donated my bike when I moved. Well, Marcia says, Dave will help you find a bike. So we went to Menards, and he went with me. Yeah. I went in his little truck with him, and we went all the way in the back, and no, it was Dick's. Okay. Dick's Sporting Goods.
I was like, I didn't know Menards had bikes.
Yeah, Dick's Sporting Goods, right? So we go back and he helps me find a bike. And I really didn't know him that well, but he was looking at him, telling me the pros and the cons. And I said, this looks like an old lady's bike. He said, no, trust me, it's going to be just fine. So I got a lime green bike. And part 2 of this is that we would bike on the trails with my new bike, and you know they use these trails a lot. So Marcia had a little green sparkly visor, and I said, "Oh, that would go so well with my bike." And for my birthday, that's what I got. That's what you got. Her visor. So. There we go.
Nice. That's a good story. Yeah. 30-second David story.
So I walk in the house and David is laying in his chair like this, and he says, "Is that Donna?" I said, "Yep, that's Donna. Donna's here now." And he looked at me. He's like, "Yep, that's Donna." And then I went and did my business, and he acted like he was asleep again. There you go.
Gordon, 30-second David story. Go.
I don't have one.
Yeah, you didn't know. We didn't know him all that well. We knew Marcia.
Yeah, Marcia.
And I just, you know what's so funny about David? Every time he'd see me, he says, "Do I know you?" I said, "I think you do." And he'd say, "Well, tell me your name again." And I'd tell him. It was cute. It's Janet.
Well, that works.
Yeah.
You already got your spot in the light, but you had another story.
Yeah, I
for me.
did.
What's your other story?
Well, you know, David really loved nature, and every time we would look, he was always looking at the clouds. I was just going, "Wow, look at that, look at that, and look at that." And that's why I chose, the verse that I chose for him was, "Behold, he is coming in the clouds, and every eye shall see him, even those who pierced him. And all the tribes of the earth will mourn over him, even so, amen." That's Revelation 1:7, I think. Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
30-second David story.
He was fun. He was a fun cross-country ski mate.
Oh, I haven't heard anything about cross country.
This is way back.
Yeah.
In Traverse City, probably 40 years ago, 3 years ago. And yeah, he was always fun to be around, like everybody said. And I was just looking at the picture of the gentleman that said that he called him his brother.
Yeah.
They look like brothers. I mean,
They do look like
even though
brothers,
I know they're wearing the same shirt, but their smiles.
Oh no,
and-
just in general, they look like brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yep. Very good. 30-second Dave story, go.
Dave was the most fantastic pitcher ever for our
Never lost a game.
Never lost a game.
Never
for the,
got a hit.
for the foul baller softball team. He was the best.
All right. 30-second story.
Oh, he took all my thunder. Actually he was a natural.
He was a natural.
Yes. At everything he did.
30-second story.
Dave used to drive by my house every morning, and it wouldn't matter if it was summertime or wintertime, going on his way to work in his Dayton Daily News truck. And he would yell. My daughter had a permanent scowl, and he would yell every morning, "Hi, Smiley!"
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Sherry, 30-second David
All
story.
right, Dave was just a fantastic guy. Always funny, always just happy and energetic, and glad I got to see him last Christmas. That's all.
30-second
Jeff.
David story.
Jeff, he didn't know me. I went on a 4-day trip to southern Ohio and to Ohio Power Company, and went four-wheeling with him and Walton, Mark Walton and Dave, and I took my dog, and we had a blast. It was 4 days of bliss, four-wheel driving all over the place.
And what year might have that been?
That was probably 90 something, maybe late 80s.
I was going to say
Probably late 80s. And yeah, buried the old Land Cruiser, Walton's old Land Cruiser, in mud. Mud was coming up and over inside. Yeah, and he tried starting it, and it backed all this mud and water into it, and we changed the oil 4 times or 5 times, and had to rebuild the engine after that. And that's when it went, I think, in my garage. I don't know. I forgot about that.
4 days of bliss.
4 days of bliss, and it sounds like a whole lot of trouble.
But it was a lot of fun. My dog enjoyed. He had the best time ever.
I bet. He probably needed a shower when he was done, huh?
Oh, many.
Yeah.
Many times.
30-second David story.
Oh, Dave, we met Dave at the Pizza Club. There's a couple other pizza clubbers. This was in like 1989, 90. And Greg had started the pizza club with a couple other people, and we used to see him every Friday. We met so many people through that group, and Dave was just like everybody was saying, always had a smile on his face, always joking, and just, he met Marcia, he talked about meeting this girl on the bikeway, and then all of a sudden he stopped coming to pizza club meetings and stuff, and
You got traded in for a girl.
we got traded in for the girl, so we kind of lost contact with him, but we had many a good Friday night with Dave and other parties too. We were over at his house a couple times. Yeah, he went up to Traverse City cross country skiing in the winter with us when we used to go like Martin Luther King weekend.
Yeah.
And he went up to Cool's cross country ski ranch. We had cabins out in the woods, and he went up at least one year, maybe more than 1 year. So we really miss Dave. I'm sorry we lost contact with him last year. We just didn't see him anymore, and never forgot about him.
Yeah. Did I have you say your names? I didn't have people say their names, did I?
I'm Dale, and this is my lovely wife, Louise.
Dale and Louise, what a beautiful couple. They were asking who owns this mighty fine barn. Did I get a I know. Yeah, you took our Did I get a 30-second video? Tell me about Dave. 30 seconds?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
30-second Dave story.
Oh, well, one day we decided to take a day trip to Richmond Historic District, and we went to the car museum. And David and my husband Mike, they were just like 2 kids. They thoroughly enjoyed themselves. They were looking at trucks with skis for delivering mail, or trucks that had these things like tanks. They were able to maneuver around and fire trucks and just like two kids. It was just amazing. And Marcia and I just kind of trailed behind them and just kind of enjoyed watching them, and we had a great time just being together. Later, after they got done with the museum, we walked over to this firehouse that had converted to a restaurant, and they were selling barbecue food, and the food was great. And of course, Dave and Mike were like in heaven because they just really thoroughly enjoyed the food, and it's all about the food, right? Of course. And then after that, we walked over to Ulrich's Ice Cream, where they make homemade ice cream, and it just seemed to top off the day. And these guys were just so happy, and they had really just a great day. And it was so pleasant to just see them enjoy each other and all that good food. Yeah. So, and that's one thing that I enjoyed about Dave and Mike too. He was so childlike in many ways that he just enjoyed life so simply and was very content.
Yeah.
Very content.
Yeah.
So
I like that about him too.
30 second?
30-second David story.
Oh, Dave and I talked about Colonel White in high school. And
you were already up there.
No, I wasn't.
You weren't up there.
No,
okay.
I wasn't.
Okay.
So that was my connection with Dave. We could talk way back when we were youngsters and full of energy, and I loved reminiscing with the guy. It was, and he was right there, mentally sharp, and it was cool. I loved it. It was nice. Could do that a lot.
Yeah. Very good.
Was that 30 seconds?
No, it was good.
27?
27.
First of all, they wrote it back.
30-second David story. Go.
David was a funny guy.
Louder.
David was a funny guy.
Yeah.
The way he and Marcia and Ron and I went out to dinner one night outside at the restaurant and laughed ourselves silly.
That sounds like a good night.
Yeah. Wish we'd had a chance to do that again.
30-second David story.
I knew you were going to do that to me, but that's all right. Well, the thing, I got to know David the best when we went to Florida together. Marcia and David and I all went to Florida, and we had a great time. And what I remember about it is how much David just enjoyed life. He had so much fun there, just looking at the flora and the fauna and going out to eat. And he didn't know a stranger. He would talk to strangers. He especially loved if they had a dog. If they had a dog, he always made friends with that dog. And so we had a wonderful time there. I always remember that and treasure that memory.
Very good. 30-second David story.
Yes. Oh, me? Oh, David was always smiling and trying to chill, make us happy, and he liked food a lot. Yeah. And I loved when they were always stopping by our house, and we get something to eat or drink, and he would say, "I love it. He's spontaneous." Spontaneous, yeah. So, yeah, that's it.
Very nice.
David loved life.
Because they aren't really cutting down. Well, they will Have I asked you for a 30-second David story?
Oh, no, I don't want a story.
30-second David story.
Okay, David and I, we share the same birthday, not the same year, because I'm a little younger. So every time it's my birthday, I think of David Caudell, and that's the truth. And I will continue to think of him every time it's my birthday. Happy birthday, David, every year.
Did I get you?
In our late 40s, David called me and he said he met the love of his life. He said he's the first time he's been in love in his life. And it was Marcia.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's 30 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you for organizing this.
30-second David story.
A 30-second. David, when we would go at the OE, when he would talk about driving, someone else mentioned driving, one of the things he talked about was deer whistles on trucks. He said that they work. He said that, they did it on all the fleet of trucks that he drove for the newspaper, that they put them on and they didn't hit any more deer. Yeah. but always loved David, and he had the greatest smile.
Yeah.
I mean, and he grew up with my ex-wife in a Jewish neighborhood, and he's always spouting these Yiddish sayings, which was always funny. So,
You got any of them in your head?
oh, no, not really, but just, he would just give a Yiddish something out there, for some, muzzle tov or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, 30-second David story.
I don't have one.
Nope. 30-second David story.
Oh, I've got lots of them. I'm telling stories. I can't make it in 30 seconds. I'll catch up with you later.
Well, no, you just got to throw one out there. It's like what pops into your head when I say 30-second David story.
Oh, I just finished telling a biking story. He's always a mountain biker. And we were out on just a regular run-of-the-mill trail, and I guess it was a little too slow for him. So we were talking, and I turned around and said, Dave, what do you think about, and he was gone. He took his bike off the trail and over the hills on some kind of, I guess, probably a trail in there in the woods we didn't know about, but he was gone.
He was just gone.
And that's how he always did things. He was
Before
just
the cell
gone.
phones, right?
Before the cell phones, that's right.
Yeah.
He'd catch up with us later. And it was fun. It was a good time.
I got another one.
Oh, we got
Okay,
one.
we were camping, we were skiing up at Cools in Michigan. David and I and another couple, and people we were with, we were sharing a cabin, and when we were getting ready to leave, we're packing up, and David and I said, well, we got to look behind the couch to make sure that everything's okay. So we moved the couch out, and there was a bat behind the couch. It had been there the whole time we were there, enjoying itself.
Like a bat, like the flies.
Like a flying, but yeah. One
I
that
was thinking baseball bat. I was like, somebody was trying to protect themselves.
No, this was a big bat.
Big bat.
All alive and just hanging out there,
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I got you eating, and now I'm going to get you with the 30-second David story.
Oh, well, Dave and Marcia came to visit me in Colorado. So I lived on the second floor, and they came up and we talked, and Dave went down to get the luggage. And he came back on, and he had this visor on with this fake hair sticking out the top.
Yeah.
And of course, Dave was always real subtle about his humor.
Yeah.
And so he just waited, until we noticed, and that was a Dave story. Yeah.
Yeah. You can still see it in your mind's eye, can't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's funny. 30-second David story.
Don't have many. 30 seconds. One of the last things David said to me when he knew he was dying, had 3 or 4 weeks to live, he said, Doug, dying is as much a part of living as dying. He was ready.
Yeah.
That's my 30 seconds.
That's true.
So
Did I get a 30-second story out of you yet?
30-second story.
A 30-second David story.
Are you? Is this being recorded? I can probably whip out something real quick. Go ahead. Something that I know about David that probably nobody else knows, because David and I went to the same church for a while, and I was a driver of the church bus to pick up high school kids and take them to the Sunday, or not Sunday, but Tuesday or Wednesday night class that they would have. And they assigned Dave. Dave was going to do the same thing. So Dave and I rode around a lot, and I heard all kinds of stories from Dave. For example, his grandfather had a farm tractor, and it was sitting out in the field. And when we drove by, you could see that farm tractor still out there. He says his grandfather passed away years before, and that tractor sank down in the mud so much that they just couldn't get it out. So they decided to leave it alone. And so anyway, what's that got to do with the price of rice? It's just that Dave was a fun guy, and I'm really going to miss him. He was fun to be with, no matter what we were doing, and I'm going to miss him.
Yeah.
Is that more? Is that 30 seconds?
That's good. Jan, 30-second David story.
I don't know David very well.
That's okay.
Well, I liked him. I liked David, but I didn't really know him very well.
You were neighbors, right?
Well, we lived over there, but we hardly ever saw him. I knew Marcia. I knew Marcia kind of well. I liked him. He was a nice man.